Hey, it is TJ Mercer. And if you are here, if you are looking at me, then you either have been sent this video directly from me because we couldn't coordinate on meeting, or somebody in your life thinks you need to get some TJ in your life. So I want to share my screen and we're going to get right to it because I don't want to hold you long. And we're going to go here. All right, screen is shared. I am, as I said, TJ Mercer, and I spent 25 years working on some of the biggest shows in Hollywood. Did I say Hollywood? So Hollywood, let me get that right. So I lived in LA for 25 years, and then at the end of 2019, I got the divine assignment that my time on that level was over because God had given me an idea for a show that he told me I needed to move to Atlanta to produce. So on March 4th of 2020, I actually moved to Atlanta, left my whole life, sold my house and everything, moved to Atlanta, and then the world shut down. So I couldn't do anything. And out of loneliness, I created this bingo amongst family and social media friends that was supposed to be one night, 10 games, $100 total, so $10 per game, and that was it. 6 weeks later, we were still playing bingo, and I'd given away almost $10,000 in cash and prizes. And then God gave me the divine assignment to launch what we call HBCU bingo, and I'm gonna tell you what that ended up doing a little later. So finally, after a year and a half at this point, I'm finally moving into the arena of what God sent me here to do. And that is what I want to talk to you about today. So like I said, I spent 25 years in Hollywood. This is just a smidgen of my credits. This doesn't even scratch the surface, but I've been all over the place. So I started my career at Extra, went on to the Tonight Show, and edited my last show for OWN, was Homemade Simple, and we won an Emmy. I was a behind the scenes producer for Night School with Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. I was behind the scenes producer on Shaft with Sam Jackson, Jesse Usher, and the Richard Roundtree. Let me tell you something. If you haven't been called an MF by Sam Jackson, you have not lived. Got a story about that, but we'll talk about that at another time. And so some of the other things that people know me as the world's greatest hugger. I got receipts to back that up. I'm the walking exclamation point. I don't know why people I think I'm calm. I don't know about you, but I think I'm calm. And I'm an award-winning author. I have 4 books. I'm a TED Talk speaker. I am crazy about all things Samsung. I've been this way for several years, probably about 15 years at this point. And then on top of that, I am a loud, proud, insufferable, obnoxious graduate of the Howard University. And this ain't new. I've been like this since I stepped foot on the campus in 1990. And that led to me becoming the celebrity bingo boss, which leads me into that HBCU bingo that I told you about, where in less than 4 weeks, we raised over $1 million in cash and prizes. We didn't have a plan. I didn't have a sponsor deck. I didn't have anything of that. I just had a desire to disrupt the sadness that these grads were feeling because they had their graduation snatched from them. And for 4 Saturdays in June, I sat right here in this chair with my clapper, with my trademark phrase, "That's a good bingo." And we played bingo, and I produced those bingos with a squad of people who had never produced any television. And we ran them like TV shows. So essentially, a group of amateurs and one expert basically spent 26 hours producing live TV. And so we had celebrity pop-ins like Sherry Shepherd, Yvette Nicole Brown, Ernest Thomas from What's Happening. And then a lot of them knew him from Everybody Hates Chris. We had CJ Emmons, who is on Dancing with the Stars. He's a principal singer on Dancing with the Stars. We had Beyonce's keyboardist who came in and judged the dance off. They had no idea who was judging them until the end. We had Grammy winner Eric Bellinger. They freaked out over him. We had Grammy nominee poet Sekou Andrews, who delivered our final address. We did 4 hours, the first Saturday, 6 hours. The next Saturday, 7 hours, the third Saturday, and I sat in this chair virtually 9 hours straight playing bingo and all other kind of things. I gave him 2 breaks. Even Kim Whitley popped in. She's a TSU alum. So it was really, really fun and surprising. Now, what you might not know, depending on your background, is that 80% of Black doctors and dentists, 51% of Black teachers, 80% of Black judges, 40% of Black engineers come out of HBCUs. So our mark on this world is undeniable. You might not know, though, as well, that despite all of their challenges, 70% of foster kids regularly say that they have a dream of wanting to attend college. Yet over 50% of foster care kids spend some time in prison. 70% of the girls who age out will get pregnant by 21. So that means that 70% of dreamers has now been decreased down to less than 3% of kids facing a reality that they will not earn their degree. As such, my next mission in life is to introduce this concept that I am calling philanthropy. Philanthropy is to boldly and unapologetically create philanthropic ways to use our God-given skills, gifts, and financial resources to serve the HBCU community with content that celebrates and educates HBCU culture. You may not have never met me, but the people who know me and know me well and have known me for a while, I am the epitome of philanthropy. I live to plan good surprises, give stuff away. And all the years I spent in TV, I am the intersection between altruism and entertainment. So I want to just get this concept of philanthropy out into the world, which means I am introducing Planet Bougie. Planet Bougie is the first philanthropic TV production company obsessed with creating content exclusively about all things HBCU. Now, let me give you a little backstory behind our name. None of this, I'm a Jesus girl. Let me just put that out there. So I live my life around divine assignments. So I can't really take credit for any of this. I'm just keeping it honest. So Planet Bougie was dropped into my spirit. And when I asked God to explain why Planet Bougie, he showed me that for Planet, for those of us who actually went to HBCUs, we got to live on a different planet. For 4 years, we were insulated from racism. We didn't have to deal with microaggressions on that level, and that we just got to be around Black excellence. So essentially, we lived in a different world. Get it? Different world. And then Bougie, because depending on how many HBCU alum in your life, whether they went to Howard, the Howard University like me, or were my mom's little tiny alma mater in Jackson, Tennessee, where I was born and raised, Lane College, you're bougie about your alma mater. You may not be bougie about no other aspect of your life, but your alma mater, you're bougie. And so our tagline is where HBCU culture is celebrated and the curious get educated. I have given my team a twofold mission. The first pillar is that every piece of content that comes out of the HBCU universe, out of the Planet Bougie universe, my bad, every piece of content that we create has to meet one of 3 criteria. It has to celebrate HBCU culture, it has to educate on HBCU culture, or it has to philanthropate HBCU students. And if we can hit all 3 of those marks in one piece of content, baby, that's a home run. And so the philanthropate side of Planet Bougie is to take care of and be a support system for those kids who have aged out of the foster care system. And I will spend the rest of my life disrupting the foster care to prison pipeline with the foster care to HBCU graduate pipeline. We want to get those graduation rates up. So as God was laying this out to me, he was giving me these 5 productions that range from a social media series all the way to a studio TV show. What that looks like is the first one is Bougie Beginnings. This is where we are tapping in to the educate part of our mission. And we're going to drop social media posts that are just educating people on the 107 HBCUs. Then we move into what I'm calling Bougie Bites, a quick bite of HBCU excellence. It's another social media series, but we're digging a little deeper because we're covering the alumni and the excellence that comes out of HBCUs. And the thing about HBCU Bites, it already has a sponsor, at least one sponsor. We're gonna be looking for more, hint, 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 hint. But it already has a sponsor that believes in the mission of this. Then we're moving into the actual programming where I get to play in the lane I love, storytelling. So HBCU History Makers is a series that is a digital series, but it's also an animation and a podcast is what we're going to turn it into. And excuse me, it is a ride of storytelling that has all these twists and turns. And so depending on how old you are, there was a radio host named Paul Harvey. He used to have a segment called The Rest of the Story. I loved that series because the series was about events and people that you knew, but he told it in such a way that you would be on this journey having no idea of who or what he was talking about. So HBCU History Makers is our nod, our revamp of that. And I'm super excited about what we have planned because that's where we're introducing philanthropy into that series too, because it will drop in 3 parts throughout the day. First part will drop clues. The audience gets to start guessing and submitting their guesses on our website. Part 2 drops, same thing. Part 3 is the reveal. So I'm really, really excited about that. Now, the next show is an actual bona fide TV show. And when God dropped this in my spirit, I lost it because I'm like, yeah, that wasn't me. This is just too dope for words. And I'm calling it Move In Day Mafia. Move-in Day Mafia is really that very first hardcore, make no bones about it. We are all about philanthropating because we are going to actually take on foster care kids who have, aged out of the system. Or in some cases, I've learned that some of my babies actually get dropped off with their garbage bag of belongings, and then they have to fend for themselves. Not on our watch. My Move-in Day Mafia is going to not only come in, and my girl, who is a celebrity interior designer, she's heading up the team, and she's going to interview them, start talking about the things that they want to see in their room. And for the first time, for some of these kids, this will be the first time they get to choose colors, posters, whatever they want in their room. And so the goal, the desire is to have partners like Walmart or Target or my favorite store, Best Buy, and let them go on shopping sprees to, decorate their room and just give them great stuff and love on them and make them feel seen. And I also would like to have a sponsor like P&G. And ironically, P&G was the sponsor for the last TV show that I got to edit professionally, Homemade Simple Unowned, and we won an Emmy. But I want P&G to not only sponsor the show, but take it a step further with our philanthropy concept. I would love to see that once a month, these kids, these foster babies that we are taking on, these kids will get care packages where there's deodorant, soap, detergent, toothbrushes, toothpaste, sanitary napkins, whatever they need is in these packages. So these babies can focus on school and focus on having an amazing college experience and not worried about where their next need? How are they going to get $2 for a bar of soap? So that is Move In Day Mafia. Then the Big Give Back. The Big Give Back is actually the show that God gave me in LA and made me uproot my life and move here. And then the world stopped. So the Big Give Back is a studio show, which is a combination of like Ellen's 12 Days of Christmas meets Oprah's You Get a Car and You Get a Car. And our studio, though, is full of HBCU students and foster care students of HBCUs, where we just get the love on them and make their holiday season memorable and lovable for them. And one of my visions is, for instance, like a story, we'll tell great stories throughout the hour-long special. But one of my visions for them is, for example, if there's a kid that may be, having to take 2 buses because he's working 2 jobs or what have you, I escort this baby out of the studio and into the parking lot, and there is a red bow wrapped Honda for this baby. So those are the productions that we really want to start doing to actually philanthropate for these HBCU foster kids. So my executive crew. So I am a right brain creative. That is my strong point. I'll say I'm 90% right brain and left percent logistics. And so I knew I needed to surround myself with people who understood the corporate structure of what needs to happen, so I can be focused on the creative and the colors and the stories and all of that. So my left hand, I'm just going to touch a few of these. So my left hand is right beside me on the screen. She's Reneka Boyd. Reneka has worked for multi-million-dollar corporations and sales teams and whatnot. She and I have been working together for 6 years, so she has been on this journey with me for a long time. Sherry Shepard on the right. Sherry, you probably know her from The View. She recently filled in for Wendy Williams. She's a great comedian. And Sherry is a dear friend of mine. I've known her probably about 15, 20 years at this point, maybe 20. And when I first did that very first bingo, she was the one that slid up to me and said, T, you need to own this concept, meaning own that this is yours. You're giving money, put your name to it. And so she is definitely in my ear on this whole journey. To the right is Ebony Wilson. Ebony and I used to go to the same church many, many years ago. So we're friends, but we really got close last year when I needed help making sure I's were crossed, T's were crossed, I's are dotted on the bingo, because Ebony's genius is she is the vice president of business affairs at Apple, even though she knows I love Samsung, but she is advising me. Bottom left, Daryl Thompson, DT. To me, he and I actually have been friends a long time. We used to go to the same church. He is my entertainment attorney. He represents, like the Clark sisters. He does the deals for big time celebrities for their shows and everything. And so he's guiding our pathway into getting the show sold. And then Mario Armstrong to the next to him. You may know Mario from like the Today Show. He's a regular contributor there. He has his own Emmy-winning show called Never Settle. But Mario is also a beast at sponsorships and partnerships. So Mario is guiding us through that season of landing those deals that we need to produce the show. Because like he's done deals with FedEx, Capital One, Zenni Optical. So that is just the highlights of my executive crew. My production team is a little different. I love the way God surrounded me with these people. So of course I'm coming in with my Hollywood people, LaRonda Mars, who was nominated for 5 Emmys, Dee Young, who is my consulting producer. He's behind several shows, that's on now. Bill Gilmore has been in the game a long time. So definitely bringing them in. But and then there's more, behind this, but these are my 3 key people that I go to. And the other 2 people, like I really want to highlight because they come from my bingo squad. So when we produce bingo, as I said, nobody had produced TV on my level And so they brought a whole new unique perspective of creativity into the game. So like, for instance, bottom middle is Dr. Renee Rogers. Dr. Renee is actually a bona fide rocket scientist. She graduated from Tuskegee and HBCU, and she builds bombs for a living. She's intimately involved with the bingo squad. And then on the far right is Simonia Blassingame. She handles all things tech for us. And so Simonia is actually a retired decorated naval officer. So that's just a few of my production crew. There's actually like 15 more that just comes from all walks of life. But I wanted to just give you a highlight of that's who's building this with me. And my inspiration, this man needs no introduction, because by his silhouette, you already know who he is, Mr. Walt Disney. And for many years, people have known that I consider Walt my mentor in my head. I ain't crazy, but yes, he's my mentor in my head, because I did Cinderella, Jungle Book, Little Mermaid, Princess Diaries, what else Disney I did? Snow White, Peter Pan, Cars, The Incredibles, what else? Chronicles of Narnia. So I was really, for 8 years, I was pretty much exclusively on projects for Disney. And as such, I got to really know Walt, by the people who talk about him, the documentaries I was doing, behind the scenes things of people talking about Walt. And so one day I was driving down the 101 freeway and I was getting ready to exit Van Nuys Boulevard. And I told God, I don't even know where this thought came from. I told God, I don't really want a company because I don't want to be nobody's boss. And I definitely don't want a production company. But if you have to make me have one, can you please show me how to build it like Walt? 15 years later, here we are. I'm building a production company. And the crazy thing is that I absorbed so much of Walt. And he and I, the more I study, the more I relate to him more than any other business books or anything. I get Walt. And when he was wanting to do Disneyland, he had done Snow White, proved everybody wrong because nobody had seen at the time a full-length animated feature in color. He proved them wrong. 20 years later, fast forward, he gives the idea for Disneyland. At this point, nobody had seen anything like the ginormous vision of what Disneyland was supposed to be. And everybody was trying to talk him out of it. Everybody was trying to convince him to stay in his lane. And side note, as for the last 7 years, I've made a living as a media coach. And I teach authors, experts, coaches, and entrepreneurs how to book themselves in the media without a publicist, without being a celebrity. And I'm a beast at it, which is how I earned the moniker Beast in the Media Streets. So my advisors, are doing their job saying, well, you might want to just stay focused on Media Mavericks a little while longer, get more resources under you before you go out and do something different. And yet I knew what God was calling me to do. And I actually was supposed to launch Planet Bougie back in March, and I got scared. And I kept saying, okay, well, I'll do more Media Maverick stuff to get the funding for Planet Bougie. And so the same thing with Walt. His own brother, who was his right-hand man, had been for years, would not help him get the money for his vision of Disneyland. So Walt drained his savings. His wife even tried to talk him out of it. Walt drained his savings. He cashed in his life insurance policy. Now, here's what's interesting that I just learned last week. Walt went around to all of his employees and he asked them for $10 to $100 in 1950s money to show the backers, to show the finance people that the vision was possible. And not only was it possible, but there are a group of people that believed in him and believed in the vision. And he called this group the Disneyland Backers and Boosters. And the weird thing is that I knew none of this when 2 or 3 months ago, God laid out the vision for my version, what I now understand is my version of the Disneyland backers and boosters. And he called it the Bougie 107. And the number 107, because of there's 107 HBCUs that are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. The 107 is that group, the Bougie 107 is that group that believes in the mission of Move-In Day Mafia, that believes in the mission of the give back, the big give back. And they believe in the mission of us being disruptive to this foster care system so that we can increase these kids graduating. And as a member of the Bougie 107, you'll get TV producer credits on our 2022 productions. We are curating a commemorative collector's box that's going to be full of swag and personalized gifts that are specifically designed for only the Bougie 107. You can totally choose your number based on availability. And what God has shown me when he started really showing me the vision of Planet Bougie, the first thing is that the Bougie 107 and I will never see the fulfillment to the level that he's going to grow Planet Bougie to be. No different than Walt never saw Disney World. Walt definitely never saw Epcot Center. These were his visions, but he didn't get to finish building it. And he definitely didn't foresee Euro Disney, the, what do you call it when you attain something? In business, I forgot what the word is, but them buying ABC. And like one of my friends today reminded me, they actually own part of Fox now. Walt never saw that coming. And what God was having me see is that Planet Bougie will become that big. And it will become that big that just as Snow White original drawings are valuable, Peter Pan drawings are valuable, the original Disneyland map went for $708,000. That is what will happen with the items that will be in the Bougie 107 and everything else we design just for the Bougie 107 over the course of the next few years. As a result, your descendants will have bragging rights that my great-great-great-grandmother, my great-great-great-uncle was one of the original Bougie 107. There will never be 108. Once we hit 107, we're done. And I've only been talking about this publicly for a few days. And already over 30 spots have been snatched up. On the bottom picture is a picture of my Black-owned co-working spot here in Atlanta. And it lists the founders. And it's a tangible representation of what I see in our studio offices, in our studio, our big studios, that everywhere I go, if you don't know me, you may not know I love on my people out loud. So everywhere I go, I will be taking the Bougie 107 with me. So what does that look like? Well, when I asked God like what that centerpiece for the very first commemorative edition, we'll be designing more in later years, but the very first one, what is it be? And he took me back to actually my favorite jersey from Howard. This is 20 years old. And I still wear it. You can see it's held up really, really well. So we're designing a jersey that's a tribute to that. So on the front of the jersey is going to be either an embroidered or some kind of big colorful patch that says Planet Bougie. On the left sleeve, it'll be where our tagline is, where HBCU culture is celebrated. On the right sleeve, it's going to have Bougie 107. Everything will have Bougie 107 on it. And so when this production company takes off, Planet Bougie is out there, people knowing the name, you're going to be rocking your jersey, and people will be like, oh, you got a Planet Bougie jersey. Oh, you one of the 107. I see it. And then I've also added a patch that says 107% Bougie certified. And I've actually written a personal note that will go on each jersey. Because again, these are collector's items that are going to be passed down and put in wills and estates. On the far right, you'll see where you can have your name and your chosen number in our custom font. So when God gave me the vision of what this font is, it didn't exist. So we're in a process of copywriting our font, just like Walt has his own font. And so when God explained to me the meaning behind the font, if you notice, it's a series of triangles. The triangles come together and form this beautiful kaleidoscope. And that's what Planet Bougie is. Doesn't matter if you white, black, green, blue, or purple. You can come together and create something that will disrupt this foster care system. And it's also a reflection of what the HBCU community is. We are not a monolith. We come in all kinds of colors, but together we form this beautiful kaleidoscope. So in the box, it's the collector's, the box itself is a collector's item, the way we are designing it. And it'll have your name and your number. Plus inside the box right now is going to be the engraved silver kaleidoscope, name and number, an acrylic memorable plaque that you can display in your office or, wherever you want. And then an official certificate of authenticity that certifies that you are one of the 107, and you're going to want to keep this in your safe deposit box or your fireproof safe. We'll start placing the order around January of next year. The membership costs $1,107 minimum. Now, people have been giving more because they understand TV is expensive. The money that is collected for the Bougie 107 is nowhere near what we're going to need to do the move-in day mafia or the big gift back. But God told me, I just need you to do this. This is the seed that I want to water, grow, and harvest. Start here. So $1,107 minimum. You can give more. Then 30 days later, we'll charge you $107 for 12 months, bringing the total for family and friends. So if you see this, that means somebody is connected to me, sent you this. So bringing that total to a little less than $2,400. Now, this thing is going to go up, especially when we really, really take it public. Right now, I'm having private conversations and recording this video. But when we take it public, it's definitely going to go up. And so I want you to take advantage of that now. A few more things before we wrap up. I want you to see that there was quite a bit of impact. And my mission during the HBCU bingo was, yes, we wanted to give them all of this fancy materialistic stuff. So we gave away 8 MacBook Airs, iPods, Samsung packages, HBCU gear, like we gave it all. But we balanced it by making sure they had tools to go forward. So we gave them the LinkedIn professor. She taught them how to set up their LinkedIn profiles because she is a Google LinkedIn certified person. Word Stylist actually showed them how to write their cover letters. We did financial literacy packages because we really wanted to find the balance. And so some of these is our snapshots. So on the bottom right, Bree says, true auntie vibes from the whole team by taking care of us like this. Jade says, I really love this. Like we already had so much taken away due to COVID. Auntie, you showing out with these prizes. And a few days before I started working on this presentation, I reached out to some of them who had perspective from a year later to tell me, what kind of impact now in retrospect did it have? And Alicia on the right told me, Auntie, she reminded me that I pulled a group together, a group of sexual assault survivors. I found out a lot of my babies had been sexually assaulted. And so I put together a group that was headed by one of my dear friends, Cheryl Epps, who's also a mediator and a sexual assault survivor herself. And she meets with them to still actually, so I wanted them to have a support system that they could relate to. On the right, we have Nyla. Nyla is talking about the career and networking opportunities that came out of and made it a brighter side of what was a dark situation for them of having their graduation snatched. And then in the middle, Ariel is talking about the fact that she just felt special. She felt seen. Top left, the picture is a young man who told me that he used his earnings to buy his first car. And so my thinking is that if we could create all of this in less than 4 weeks, no real plan, me just having the divine direction of do this, and we can have this kind of impact, what does it look like when there's a machine behind us, when we're really all pulling together? There's clearly a plan. There's clearly a plan for fundraising. And if you ask why foster care kids, that was the same thing with me, because I didn't know anything about foster care. But the seeds were planted during the HBCU bingo when, one, I told you that one of my babies was just dropped off with her bag of belongings. But it also came from a young man who was brave enough when I asked him, listen, Auntie has a strong Rolodex, but I need to know what you need. And he was brave enough to raise his hand and say, Auntie, I need life skills. I need a life skills class. I don't really know how to talk to people because I came out of foster care. That was when the seed was planted of what we can do. So I know with your help with me on this and believing in the seed, we can get more funding because we're able to show backers, we did this by ourselves. Imagine what we can do with more funding behind us to go create these shows. And so this way we can actually break generational curses. This way we can actually change the trajectory of these kids' lives. This way we can take that 70% that dream and get that thing up to 100% that actually go and earn their degree. So I need your help. If what I've said has resonated with you, just go to the Bougie107.com, the Bougie107.com. You can make your deposit of $1,107, and then you'll be taken to an authorization page where you have to authorize us to then charge $107 a month for 12 months. And then the third step of the process is you choose your number and give us the details of your jersey. So I thank you for listening to me. If you got this far, I thank you for considering us. And even if it's not resonating with you, feel free to share this video for someone who actually it does resonate with and has a passion for foster care or HBCUs or just wanting to help. I totally appreciate that. If you need to ask questions, shoot them to Reneka@planetbougie.com. That's RENAYKA @planetbougie, BOUGIE. You have it there. Reneka, RENAYKA @planetbougie.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye.